Today we're going to be learning a second method of solving systems of equations, and that's by substitution. Okay, so we learned graphing last week. We graph them to see where the lines cross. The ordered pair is the solution. Now today we're going to learn substitution. Okay, sorry, I gotta unfreeze it. Today we're going to be learning substitution, where you can either solve for x or y. It's whichever one is easiest to get by itself in the equation. You'll see more of what I'm talking about in just a minute. Okay, on one side of the equation. And when you think of the word substitution, what comes to mind? You can think like sports, or when you think substitution.
Like your football. Yeah. Football.
Change. Okay, so if you say, Coach, I need a sub, what are you saying?
Coach,
I need to substitute myself out.
I need to switch myself out, right? I need someone to come take my place. So with substitution, we have information taking the place of the variable in the other equation. So with substitution, when I look at these two equations, I need to see, that the variable is solved for, possibly, in one of the equations. So when I look at the first one, is x or y solved for? Is it by itself on one side of the equation? No. But when I go over here to the first one, it shows that y equals 2x minus 4. That means that whatever value 2x minus 4 is, that's going to be my y value. So what my rule says, substitution, think, taking its place. If y equals 2x minus 4, I can take that value and plug it in for y in the other equation. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that substitution. 7x minus 2. It's not a y anymore. I'm going to plug in the 2x minus 4. 2 times 2x minus 4 equals 5. Okay, this is not point slope. Okay, this is something totally different. All right, so now that I only have one variable to solve for, my x's, I can start combining like terms. All right, and we have 7x. What's negative 2 times 2x? 7x minus 4x. Negative 2 times negative 4?
Plus 4. 8.
Positive 8 equals 5. Okay? Now, do I see any like terms possibly that I could combine over here?
Yes.
All right, so 3x. And then on the 8, what do I do to both sides? How would I get? Minus it to the other side. Very good. So 3x equals negative 3. Okay? All right, you see what we did there? We combined our x's, and then we took our number and we subtracted it to the other side.
Why don't you bring the number down first?
Because I don't want to write the equation over and over.
You don't finish your equation all the way? So
Oh, no, absolutely. Now what do I do last to solve for x?
Divide by 3. Divide by 3x.
Divide by 3. Okay? X equals negative 1. And remember, in graphing, my solution was an ordered pair. Well, that looks like, to me, the first part, okay, of an ordered pair. But now I need to solve for y.
So put the x with a y.
So now I take negative 1. Now, hear me on this, guys. This is important. I could plug in negative 1 up here for x, or over here for x, okay? I would definitely do the simpler of the two equations. It doesn't matter which one you choose, so why not choose the easier one? Okay, so y equals 2 times negative 1 minus 4. Y equals, what's negative 2 minus 4? What's negative 2 minus 4?
Plus 6. Not minus 6.
Negative 6. Negative 2 minus 4, same sign, add and keep. 2 times negative 2, 2 times negative 1, minus 4. This is same sign.
Where did you get that? Because the inside.
Guys, look. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. All I did was multiply it.
I didn't see where you
Okay? But this is not my answer. My answer is the ordered pair? -1, -6.
Yeah, you confused me.
Yeah, I thought you was gonna go.
Because I thought you was going to do it regular. You just
Yeah.
did it. Like, I thought you was going to be like 2 times that. And like,
Oh, no. You just plug it in and do the subtraction. So let's do another one, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is look at both equations, okay? Do you see one of the equations that has either x or y solved for?
First.
Does this one have either x or y solved for? No, okay? So I go over to the other one. Does everybody see the x equals? Okay? So because of the x equals this. You gotta understand this, okay? It's going to take the place of the x in the other equation.
So it's 5x? No.
Okay?
It's
Look,
gonna be
just
2
just
times
watch.
5y plus 2.
It's going to be 2 parentheses. Now I plug in this for the x. 5y plus 3. Now I bring down the rest of the equation. Plus 4y equals -1. Okay? All right, so now what do you think you're going to do? Distribute. 2 times 5y, 10y. What's 2 times 3? 6. Plus 4y equals -1. Okay? Combine your like terms. Okay? So what's 10y plus 4y, guys? 14y. All right, I'm going to bring it down because I think I confused you on the last one. Plus 6 equals -1. Now what do I do? Subtract 6. Now, you could have done that on the last step. You could just subtract 6 to the other side. But if that's confusing, just bring it down and do it on the next step. -6 to both sides. And now I have 14y equals -7. Divide both sides by 14. Y equals -1/2.
Yeah, 0.5 is 1/2 too.
Yeah, 0.5, 1/2, same thing. Okay, now that I have my y, does anybody remember what I did on the last problem to find my x?
You
Just
brought
write
it
it.
back up.
Took your 1/2 and you
Now, anybody want to pick this second one?
No, I'm good.
Okay. No, we don't because it's more complicated. You can, and if you do the work right, you're going to get the answer right, but why do that? That's way more complicated than the first one. Okay? On the first one, if you just plug in x equals 5 times -1/2 plus 3. What's half of 5? 2.5, and then it's going to be negative. X equals -2.5 plus 3. Now think about it. -2.5 plus 3. What's -2.5 plus 2.5? 0. So then if I just add another half to that, what's -2.5 plus 3?
1.
Half.
-1.
Just 1/2. Half. Okay, x equals +1/2. All right, you see that? If you add -2.5 plus 2.5 is 0, right? 3 is only half more than 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, all right. All right, what's my answer now?
1/2, -1/2.
And -1/2. Okay? All right, so I need you on every problem that we're working, okay? This is a brand new concept. Just try to put together more pieces each problem we're working, okay? And I don't mind the questions, just raise your hand and ask, and I definitely don't mind stopping. Okay, next one. X equals 4y, and x plus 4y equals -8. So when you see these, okay, you want to write them side by side. Where is your attention being drawn to? Which equation? Someone raise your hand.
X equals.
Raise your hand. All right, any of my girls? Which equation is getting your attention? Like, hey, this one might
X
be
plus 4y.
girls. Raise your
My phone.
hand. Okay. Which one, guys? Which one gets your attention? What are we supposed to be looking for? Anybody? No? Nothing? Guys, come on. All right, Micah, what is it?
Because you have to find the number that's like the X is solved for.
Which equation has x or y solved for? Okay, so is x or y solved for here on this one? No. Is x or y by itself on this one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so because x is solved for, what can I do with this one on the second equation?
Plug it in
Nick?
for X.
Plug what in for x?
4y.
Plug 4y. It takes the place of the x. It says x equals 4y. So that means I can plug 4y in for x. 4y plus 4y equals negative 8. So now I have 8y equals negative 8. And now what do I do to both sides?
Y equals negative 1.
Divide by 8, and y equals negative 1. All right? Is that making more sense, guys? Is that making more sense? Okay? It's this idea of substitution. So now that I know what y equals, how can I find x?
4 times 1 negative 1.
Okay? Plug it back into the simpler equation. Does everybody agree this one looks a little more simple, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So plug in negative 1, 4 times negative 1. Four times negative 1, x equals negative 4. Negative 4, negative 1. All right, how do we do, guys?
Wait.
Okay, so now look at this next one. Raise your hand. What do you notice about these two equations? Raise your hand. Mason?
Y is solved for on both.
Y is solved for on both. So it does not matter which way you go. You're actually going to end up with the same exact equation, whether you plug in the first one into the second equation or the second one into the first equation. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it in for y. And what ends up happening is I'm taking those expressions and just making them equal to each other. Okay? So now I have x minus 8 equals 2x minus 14. Okay, x minus 8 equals 2x minus 14. Now this looks like an old familiar friend. Variables on both sides of the equation. Do you guys remember which one would I want to move to the other side? I've got to move one.
That's a negative.
Left.
The smaller of the two values, because I don't want a negative variable. Okay? So what's understood in front of the first x?
It's positive.
It's a 1. Okay? So I want to subtract 1x to the other side. I want to get my variables on the same side. Now watch this, guys. Look up here. If I'm moving my x's to the right side, where does my negative 14 go? It goes to the left side. It's like that swing motion. If I'm moving my x's to the right, could I move my numbers to the left?
I guess.
Okay, in the same step. Why not? All right, that saves us some time. Add 14 to both sides. 6 equals x. Just like that. All right, so now I have one part of my solution. How could I find the second part of my solution? Raise your, guys, y'all are really getting bad about this, okay? All right, let's see. Any of my quiet people back over here? No, I've got the same people volunteering. How am I gonna find y now? I know what x is. Do you guys remember how I'm gonna find y, Josh?
You're gonna make the x on that side safe.
Yes, plug 6 back into the simpler of the two equations. So come back over here, y equals 6 minus 8, and y equals negative 2. So 6, negative 2. Six, negative 2. All right, how do we do on that, guys? Are we doing better? Are we kind of understanding it a little bit better? All right, here's the thing. I would strongly recommend that you just play this YouTube video as you're working on, you have 5 problems for homework tonight. As you're working on this, just play the video in the background so you're like hearing it again. All right, because I know it's a new concept. Okay, so we're going to do one more. We're going to skip that one. We're going to do this last one. You might have one of these on your homework. Now remember what I taught you. The first thing you're looking for is for one of the equations to be solved for x or y. So what do you see on this one?
4y equals 14.
Neither of them are solved. Neither of them are solved for x or y. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So now, if I know I have to use substitution, I'm looking for the easiest way to get x or y by itself on one of the equations. Okay? If there's a number attached to the variable, that's not going to be easy. Okay? That'll be a 2-step. So, do you see a variable that is by itself? Mason?
Yes.
Which one?
X.
Yes, x on the first equation. Do you see how this is just an x? Okay? So it's only going to take me one step to get x by itself. How could I get 4y to cancel to the other side?
Add or subtract x.
Yep, so not subtract x, but subtract the 4y. So when I minus the 4y to the other side, I get x equals negative 4y plus 14. Do not confuse this with slope-intercept. All I'm trying to do is just solve for x. Now that I've solved for x, what do I need to do? Now that I have x by itself, what's my next step to keeping to solve for this system, Michael?
Plug it in the other variable.
Yes, take this whole expression and plug it in for x. The x on the other one is going to go away and be replaced with that expression. So 3, what are you writing in parentheses? Notice that the x is gone because I'm substituting it. You guys see that? Y'all see that? Okay. So what would I write in parentheses?
Negative 4x plus 14.
Yes, negative 4y plus 14. Now bring down the rest of the equation. Please don't forget that part. Plus 4y equals 22. All right? I want to see who can take this now all the way to the end. All the way to the end. This will be the last one we work together, and then we'll start on the homework. Okay. 3 times negative 4y is what? Negative 12y plus 42 plus 4y equals 22. All right, please pay attention to this part because I'm seeing this mistake a lot. You are not doing opposite operations with the y's when they're on the same side of the equal sign. Do you see how they're both on the left side? So when they're both on the same side, what do? You just combine like terms. That's all you're doing. Don't do opposite operations here. Okay? I've seen a lot of people today trying to minus 4y because they're thinking opposite. No. What's negative 12 plus 4? What's negative 12 plus 4? negative 8y. Do you see why I combine like terms? It's on the same side of the equal. Plus 42 equals 22. This will be a decimal. Okay, try to finish solving.
Wait, is it decimal or fraction?
So subtracting 42, you get negative 20. Negative 8y equals negative 20. Divide by negative 8. Y equals positive 2.5. Okay? Yep, positive because negative divided by negative. All right, now, how do I solve for x? Nick?
Okay, alright, so now you x plus 4 times 2.5 equals 14.
X plus, oh yeah, okay, so he took it all the way back to the beginning. X plus 4 times 2.5, okay? So 4 times 2.5 is?
14.
No, 4 times 2.5. 10, okay? So then he said x plus 10 equals 14. Subtract 10,
X equals 4.
x equals 4. Okay? All right. What now?
She just didn't put the step where you, what you call it?
Multiply.
Yeah, she didn't put that step.
Oh, yeah. I didn't put the part where you do 4 times 2.5. I just did that part. All right, and now my solution
4.
for 2.5. Okay, so your homework, we are not going to do number 6. I will do that tomorrow with you. Okay, your homework is numbers 1 through 5 on the worksheet in your packets, and that'll be everything for 5.2.